Human connection is a bit of a mystery. It's hard to know exactly what makes two people click, what makes them fall in love or fight for each other. Maybe you're at your wits' end. You've done so much research and tried so many things to bring your avoidant closer, yet he or she remains just out of reach. Hi, guys, I'm Carolina. My husband used to be an avoidant, and I too was breaking my head trying to figure out how to bring him closer. It took us many years and countless conversations to finally have the full picture. In this video, I'll share 5 simple ways to connect with an avoidant, to bring them closer, and make them remember why they fell in love with you in the first place. When it comes to connection, one of our first instincts when we're trying to get an avoidant to care more is by being loving. Sadly, it's often not what they really want or need. In our effort to show how much we care or how patient we have the tendency to get ahead of ourselves and assume things. But the fact that your avoidant partner keeps on pulling away or acting distant is proof that you don't fully get him or her. If you did, you'd understand why they are acting the way they are. For this very reason, the first and easiest way to bring an avoidant closer is by listening to them. What do I mean by listening? I mean asking them questions and trying to understand them instead of just jumping to fix their problems for them, especially if they're complaining about you or your relationship. When Gabriel would tell me he felt suffocated, my old instinct was to immediately jump into defense mode. I'd explain why I wasn't suffocating him, list all the space I'd already given him, and try to prove him wrong. But that just made him feel more misunderstood. It turned a moment where he was being vulnerable about his fears into a trial where he was the defendant. When I finally shifted and started saying, "So you're saying you feel suffocated by me?" It changed everything. You see, most of us, especially avoidants, move through the world feeling fundamentally alone and misunderstood. They spend their lives bracing themselves against people who want to change them, fix them, or demand more from them than they can give. When you stop trying to correct their feelings and instead start listening to them, something incredible happens. You build a level of connection that is almost impossible to break. The more you two understand each other's inner worlds, the more connection you'll feel. But there's a strategic side to this too. It makes you irreplaceable. In a world full of people who will pressure them, guilt trip them, or walk away when things get difficult, you become the one person who actually clicks with them. You become the one person who doesn't make them feel wrong for being who they are. Why would they ever truly leave that? The more connection you build through the simple act of understanding them, the harder it will be for anyone else to compete with you. An avoidant might find someone else to flirt or to grab dinner with, but they'll never find someone else who gets them the way you do. And for an avoidant, that deep, judgment free understanding is the rarest and most valuable resource in the world. Now, I want to be clear. Endlessly listening to someone else talk about themselves isn't healthy, nor does it actually build trust. It just makes you a sounding board, not a partner. That's why the second, equally important way to bring an avoidant closer is by opening up about yourself. You can connect with an avoidant by sharing your own vulnerable thoughts or feelings. You just have to go about it the right way. We often think opening up means telling them how much they've hurt us. We say things like, "When you don't text me back for 2 days, it makes me feel so anxious and unloved." Even though that's your truth, to an avoidant, that feels like an attack. They hear it as, "You're failing, you are a bad partner, and now you have to fix my feelings." Their natural response to this type of communication is to bolt. If you want to connect with an avoidant on a deeper level, share something vulnerable while taking full ownership of that feeling. So imagine saying this instead: "I've realized recently that I have this deep seated fear of being abandoned. I don't even know where it fully comes from, but it's crazy how often it pops up for me lately." Notice the difference? You aren't blaming them for the fear, you aren't asking them to fix it. You are simply revealing a part of your inner world. When you show this kind of emotional independence, you instantly win their trust. You're showing them that you're responsible for your own nervous system. Paradoxically, this makes them respect your needs more. They'll stop seeing you as needy or manipulative because you aren't using your feelings as a tool to request things. Avoidants deeply desire you to be independent, to take ownership of your needs rather than just demanding things from them. The more you own your vulnerability without making it their problem to solve, the safer they feel. And the safer they feel, the more they'll actually want to take care of you. Yes, it's a paradox. The more responsibility you take for yourself, the more your avoidant partner will try to fix these things for you. Until this day, it still surprises me how this works. Try it and you'll find out for yourself. We often think that to get closer, we have to go deeper. But honestly, having deep, vulnerable conversations all the time can be exhausting, especially for an avoidant. That's why it's so important to balance those moments with a healthy dose of pure fun. The third powerful way to connect with an avoidant and bring them closer is through low stakes quality time. Gabriel and I originally got to know each other at a party, and interestingly enough, when we got back together after our first breakup, it was at a party too. Now, I know what you might be thinking. People are often terrified to do this. You might worry that if you allow for careless activities without attaching strings or clarifying exactly where you stand, your avoidant partner will just take you for granted. Or worse, that they'll put you in the friend zone. But in reality, this could not be further from the truth. It's actually the constant pushing for seriousness and commitment that makes an avoidant believe you're hooked and super serious about them. When you pivot to just having fun, bumping into each other, grabbing a casual coffee, or going to a concert without making it a big deal, it shifts your dynamic. It makes the avoidant feel like you aren't as fixated on the relationship as they thought you were. On one hand, they feel an immediate sense of relief and reassurance. They think, okay, we're on the same page. He or she is cool with just playing things by ear and enjoying the moment. This lowers their defenses and allows them to actually feel the chemistry again. On the other hand, a tiny bit of healthy doubt starts to creep in. They start to worry, wait, are they really not as serious about me as I thought? Are they starting to move on? This is the sweet spot. Fun quality time does two things at once. It brings an avoidant closer by removing the pressure, and it makes them worry about losing you at the same time. It's simple, it's powerful, and most importantly, it's fun. While we're on the subject of quality time, I have to address the elephant in the room. Something we all do, but are often not proud to admit. Most anxious avoidant couples end up hooking up after a breakup. Sometimes it's immediately after, other times it's after weeks or even months of healing and fixing. In many ways, intimacy is the final stepping stone to actually getting back together. This is the fourth powerful way to connect with an avoidant and bring them closer. It usually starts innocently, a lingering touch on the arm, a long hug. But when you have genuine chemistry with someone, it's hard to stop there. And the truth is, you don't necessarily need to. Avoidants often find it much easier to connect through touch than through words. Words can be doubted, twisted, or felt as pressure, but physical closeness bypasses that defensive mind and goes straight to their heart. Now, it's vital that you feel safe before venturing into this territory and that you're comfortable with the current state of things. Being strictly celibate doesn't bring an avoidant closer. Connecting through intimacy does, but a lot of people worry, if I sleep with them, won't I just become a casual hookup? The truth of the matter is, if you already shared a deep emotional bond with someone, they won't be able to relate to you as just a casual fling. The history is already there, whether they like it or not. That intimacy will always mean more to them because it's layered on top of connection you've already built. For an avoidant, that physical closeness often acts as the bridge that allows them to get in touch with their feelings. To some of you, hearing this will feel like the green light you've been waiting for. For others, the very thought of intimacy without labels might feel utterly uncomfortable. Checking in with yourself and enforcing your own limits is a very, very healthy thing to do. It's also the fifth and final effective way to connect with an avoidant and bring them closer. What I'm talking about here is setting boundaries. Often people try to give an avoidant space instead of actually communicating a boundary, hoping that the avoidant will just get the hint. No, they won't. The core problem in all relationships is trust. We all have trust issues. Avoidants do, and their partners do too. When we're afraid to truly trust our significant other, we try to influence them indirectly. We use space as a weapon or a test. And that is exactly why boundaries often backfire. If you want to set a boundary that actually brings an avoidant closer, it's important to formulate it as an honest request. You have to be open, transparent, and talk about your own limits. For example, instead of playing a silent game, you say, I'm not okay with the current amount of distance in our relationship. I see this all the time with my coaching clients. They set boundaries not because they've actually reached a limit, but because they're trying to provoke a specific response. For example, after a breakup, you might say, I need my things back. You aren't actually saying it because you want your sweater. You're saying it because you want your avoidant ex to object and say, no, I'm not ready to let go. But they don't know that. They think you genuinely just want your stuff. So they say, okay. And that inevitably leaves you feeling even more hurt and abandoned. So, how do you set a boundary that brings an avoidant closer? You do it the same way we talked about sharing your feelings. You take full ownership and simply communicate where you're at. Try saying, I feel burnt out by always having to be the one to initiate. I really wish you would take the lead sometimes. Or, I wish you were more considerate of my needs and feelings. And then, this is the key, you leave them room to object, expecting that they will. Avoidance can be like spoiled children. They might throw a tantrum or push back at first, but ultimately, they will respect and trust you more if you stand your ground. When they see that you have a bottom line, they realize you aren't someone they can just walk over, and paradoxically, that makes them feel much safer being close to you. Connecting with an avoidant isn't about one grand gesture. It's a multitude of small, consistent shifts in how you two interact. It's a process that takes time, but can bring back that effortless spark you had in the very beginning. I know when you're in the thick of it, staying calm and emotionally independent, it's easier said than done. It requires a real transformation in how you view yourself and your partner. This is exactly what we help you with in our Attach and Avoidant program. We give you step by step tools to stop the cycle of distance and finally build a secure, loving bond. If you're ready to stop guessing and start connecting, click the link in the description below. And if you want to know more about what goes on inside an avoidant's mind, you'll want to watch my husband's video next.